Okay, welcome everyone. We're doing another deep dive today, looking at biblical history through a chronological lens. Specifically, we're getting into the book of Revelation and that crucial shift from the seven seals to the seven trumpets.
That's right. The sources generally frame the seals as, you know, covering the period from Jesus' first coming right up until humanity sort of hits peak greed, peak self-interest. And the moment that seventh seal is broken, boom, we transition straight into the seven trumpets.
Which signal the Great Tribulation.
Exactly. That final intense period of judgment before the second coming.
And that transition isn't subtle, is it? I mean, the source mentions an angel throwing fire from the altar down to earth.
Yeah, Revelation 8.5. It causes thunder, lightning, and earthquake. It's less a warning and more like the starting gun for Judgment Day.
Okay, so the judgments begin. What's first?
Well, the first four trumpets are all about hitting the physical world, the environment. Pretty devastating stuff. You've got the first trumpet wiping out a third of trees and grass. The second kills a third of all sea creatures. Then the third trumpet turns a third of all freshwater rivers, springs bitter, basically unusable.
Wow.
And the fourth, it affects the heavens. A third of the sun, moon, and stars are struck, darkened. Causes, major disruption.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, though. You'd think a third of everything collapsing, people would realize it's the end times, right? But the sources suggest maybe not. They might just see it as, I don't know, a really severe string of natural disasters.
Exactly. That's a key point drawn from the text, often linking back to Luke 17. Jesus talking about the days of Noah. People were just eating, drinking, getting married, living life as normal, right up until the flood hit.
Right.
So even with a third of the planet's resources gone, the interpretation is many will just adapt. They'll see it as terrible, yes, but maybe manageable catastrophes, not necessarily divine judgment yet.
So the first four trumpets shake the physical world, but maybe not people's core assumptions. But then there's a shift, right, with the fifth trumpet.
A big shift, yeah. It's even announced differently. You have that eagle flying through heaven, crying out, whoa, 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 for the last three trumpets.
Signaling something maybe worse or just different?
Definitely different. We move from the physical environment to the spiritual and mental realm. The fifth angel blows his trumpet, the bottomless pit is opened, and out come these, locusts.
But not normal locusts?
No, not at all. The description is very clear. They look like horses prepared for battle, have human faces, crowns, but sting like scorpions.
And their target is specific.
Very specific. And this is crucial. Revelation 9, verse 4, explicitly says they were told not to harm the grass or trees or any green thing.
Okay.
Their command was to torment only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads.
Right. So this directly implies believers, the sealed, are present during this tribulation. They go through it.
It certainly points that way in this interpretation.
And protection isn't about being physically removed, like some kind of escape plan. It's about having that seal. It reminds me of the Exodus story, the lamb's blood on the doorposts.
That's a very common parallel drawn. Protection comes from a state of being, a life of obedience, alignment with God's values, not a change in location. That spiritual condition is the refuge.
So if the locusts only torment the unsealed, what is that torment? The text says it's like a scorpion sting lasting 5 months.
Yes, and connecting this to the wider context, the interpretation often links the spiritual attack to, earthly values. The idea is that the greatest pain, the real sting, falls on those who are completely invested in the systems of this world: money, property, status, power.
Okay, how do we get that from torment? Because the text itself just says they're tormented. It doesn't explicitly mention finances or power being the source of the torment.
That's fair. The interpretation bridges this by suggesting the torment is the intense spiritual and mental anguish that arises when the foundations of a worldly life crumble. Think about it. The physical judgments already wrecked a third of the resources. Now, the spiritual attack adds a layer of inescapable inner pain. For someone whose entire security, identity, and hope is tied up in wealth or power, seeing that system either destroyed or proven utterly useless under this pressure, that is the torment. The sting is realizing your God, your security blanket, is worthless.
Ah, I see. So the pain is proportional to your investment in earthly things.
Precisely. It resonates strongly with, Matthew 6.
Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth,
Where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven.
So living a life focused on heavenly values, obedience, serving others, generosity, even when it seems foolish or inconvenient by worldly standards, That's presented as the actual path to overcoming to safety during these times.
That's the synthesis, yes.
Yeah.
It's about where your true treasure lies.
It really forces you, the listener, to reflect, doesn't it? Are we, even as believers, sometimes striving just as hard, or maybe even harder than worldly people, to grab onto earthly security and possessions? Or are we genuinely trying to live by God's eternal values day by day?
And that leads to maybe a final thought to consider. If the sources say all of the things on earth, all this stuff we value, is ultimately like a mist, something that just disappears in an instant, then what's the one thing, what single value, or maybe what single action could you pursue today that would actually hold its worth, that would survive the sounding of every single one of these trumpets? What endures?